Hello, growers. Looking to turn your homestead into a profitable business? Or are you a farmer looking to boost your sales? Check out my book, Sell Everything You Grow. This book is the ultimate guide to choosing the right farm business model that fits your farm, time, and location. Discover which model has the highest profit margins and why diversification is so important. Whether you're selling apples, vegetables, or microgreens, Sell Everything You Grow will help you find your first market or expand into new ones. Get Sell Everything You Grow on Amazon and start selling more today.
If a new farmer comes to you and says, I'm going to start the farm, what are some things you would do a little bit differently that you would recommend he do that maybe you did and you realized it wasn't the best plan right from the get-go?
I'd say number one, it's try and balance your soils. Try to nail fertility and, first thing before you ever really consider putting anything in the ground to sell. That's
Okay.
way easier said than done. But we were throwing in beds with a basic NPK test and like, we'll do some compost because that's what everybody does, and we'll throw some fertilizer in there, and then it's like make a bed, plant it, make a bed, plant it, make a bed, plant. That's literally what we were doing. And still to this day, like I'm still reaping the consequences of that, where it's like we still have soils that are unbalanced. We still have patches. Now, granted, I understand that you're always working to build soil, and it's even though we're trying to be ecological and we're trying to be regenerative, we're still extracting things from the soil. I mean, that's just the nature of not everything's a cover crop. Like you got to pull something out of the ground, and you're pulling out some of the nutrient. Now, hopefully, you're building some microbial stuff in the soil to sort of kind of keep that carbon cycle going, and it's replenishing itself in some form or fashion. But, for the most part, like you're always going to be building soil, but we really did a poor job of building our like initial fertility before we really got going. And then once we started expanding, we did an even poorer job because then we're like, we don't even have time to apply compost. So at least before we were like applying a little bit of fertilizer with like an insufficient amount of testing. And, but at least we're adding compost to those beds. And now it's like we're adding fertilizer with insufficient, with maybe slightly better testing, but we're just putting fertilizer in. We're like working it in, and then boom, we're planting. And then, 3 successions later, like, oh, this bed is just, oh, it's such a piss poor production on that bed. And so, I would say like my number one thing is like, your soil is it's your reserve account. Like that's what you're pulling from. That's your bank account. And, just like you need capital to operate your business, you have to have good, healthy soil to start off with. Like, so ideally, I wish I would have had, I wish I would have leased our property in July and had like a full end of summer, fall to really build our beds, get them amended well, get another test in, and see what we're working with, so that when we start planting in the spring, we were better set up. And I'm, doing my best to not make those continued mistakes. But yeah, that would be my number one thing. And then also I would say try to have some sales outlets in place. I think a lot of
Okay.
times people think, yeah, I got to be able to grow stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But then you got to be able to sell it. Like you have
Right.
to, it's great that you grow the most beautiful tomatoes in the world, but if nobody's going to buy them and you don't have anybody to sell them to, you just have a really awesome garden. And
Right.
so spending winter months knocking on doors to chef. Hopefully, maybe you have a little bit, maybe you have a couple of beds that you can throw some arugula in or some lettuce. And even if it's not like this is going to be a full planting, but like you kind of have some like test plots so that you can take some stuff to a chef, let them try it, feed a couple of people that maybe might be potential customers for a veggie box a week, or to be able to go to a farmer's market and see what a bunch of carrots looks like, and I got 5 carrots and that's $5. So, and I know that I can yield that much, being able to have some ideas on like a farmer's market or restaurant accounts or a wholesaler that you're going to be selling to, having those sort of things in place. And that's tough because a lot of times
Mhm.
you're trying to sell the potential of something as opposed to
Right.
like, and now I can go into a restaurant and it's like, I can do this much every single week. I'll add you to my list. Here's my prices. It's cut and dry. But if you got good stuff and you're really passionate about it and they like you, a lot of times they'll stick with you. I've got chefs that tell me all the time, like, dude, I just like you, man. Like, I could buy from other people, but I just like working with you. And I'm like, okay, well, I wish it was the vegetables. It was like, you have the best carrots in the entire area, and I couldn't imagine buying carrots from anybody else because yours are just the absolute best. But I guess I'll settle for, like, you're a cool guy and I like you, so I want you to succeed, so I'll help in whatever way I can.
Today's episode is brought to you by Modern Grower, a proud retailer of the Sumi Soaker system. The Sumi Soaker system is an irrigation game changer. It offers multiple advantages for market gardeners. Even gentle watering without dry spots common with wobblers. The system is lightweight and portable, so you can use it with quick rotation crops. It's low maintenance with no parts to break or clog. It's versatile. You can use it for direct seeding, transplants, and cover crops. And it's very cost effective compared to overhead options. And maybe one of its best and most unique features is it can put down water in a rectangular pattern, which is very different than rotating sprinklers that leave circular patterns, often with dry corners and overwatered centers. If you want to learn more about the Sumi Soaker system, use the link below or visit us at shop.moderngrower.co.